the movie podcast and Twitch stream where Sean
and John
and Brian
watch shit, talk shit, and most importantly, eat shit. We are the law. Hello and welcome, special guest Brian Bates. How are you doing tonight, sir?
Oh, I am so wonderful, Sean.
Really?
Thanks
Is
for
life
having
beautiful? Oh, we're so delighted to have you on this show. I can't even describe it.
How could life be even better? Any better?
Wow, I'm struggling.
I'll be completely honest. I was upset with Brian for
Oh.
about 8 days from the time
Really?
he picked this film until the time I watched it today. I was like, why Breakfast Club? Why? And not only did I learn, I had never seen Breakfast Club, which I thought I had. But I had a good time. It was like much better than I thought it would be, and like kind of put me in a bittersweet mood for the rest of the day, because it was like, I hate to say this, I'm gonna boomer myself pretty viciously, but they just don't make them like they used to, boys.
How so?
Because it was just kind of like this like austere, serene character piece. You know, there was it was almost like a black box theater play. Like, you didn't need any sets or anything. You could have done that anywhere, and it was, you know, it was. I just don't. And that was a huge movie back then, like a huge movie that meant a lot to a lot of people. And it's kind of mind blowing to even imagine a movie like that being made now, unless it was like Greta Gerwig or something.
Yeah.
How old are you, John?
I am 38.
Okay, see, I'm 48, so this movie came out right when I was about to start high school.
Right.
So
oh, yes.
it meant a lot to me.
No, I get it. I mean, it means a lot to me now. But I don't think that it is specifically an age thing, because I have a niece who's only 18 or 19 years old, however old people pretend to be adults now, because I think she's trying to be an adult. And this is her favorite movie. So I think
Really?
I think it is a resonant film. I don't know why I had decided that I didn't like it. Chad Wright in the chat points out, how can you not love John Hughes movies though? I had decided this was one of the bad ones. Like, I had decided that this and Pretty in Pink were the bad ones, and then like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles and Ferris Bueller were the good ones. I guess just because I always have to be a cantankerous asshole. But this movie was, I thought it was pretty cool. Like, pretty.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting that did you say it was your niece that likes it?
Yes.
Your favorite? Because I have a joke about how this Generation Z, is so hard on us old Generation Xers as far as evolving with culture and being woke. But I'm like, look what our big woke diversity movie was of my generation, The Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
5 straight white teenagers forced to spend a day together, and we thought it was groundbreaking.
Yeah. And there's like a lot of like problematic stuff in this movie. You know?
Yes.
But if this movie was made today, I mean, think about how they'd be cast.
Yeah, there would be like a girl with one eye. There would be a black guy. You'd have to.
I wasn't thinking that.
There had to be a furry.
Yes.
You'd have to have a furry.
Oh, you take it a little further than I was thinking.
Yeah, that's kind of my job.
I just thought there'd be like a transgender and a gay, but no, you took it a whole other step.
There'd be a 7-foot-tall Native American man.
Yeah.
Chief
from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest finally returns to break them out of the. So, I don't know Brian very well, and I definitely don't know Sean very well, but neither of you strike me as guys who got sent to detention very often. So was this a revelatory to find out the inner workings of detention?
Yeah, I guess I think I would probably definitely most identify with Anthony Michael Hall.
Right.
Oh yeah.
I wanted to be Emilio Estevez character,
sure.
but no, I was, I was a little bit troublemaker, just making jokes in class, but I never got sent to detention.
We called it in-school suspension, and then I ended up I loved In School Suspension so much. I remember getting sent there on purpose just so I could read my Goosebumps books, because it was just like, it was a place where you could be undisturbed. And then eventually I was sent to boarding school, and then we would have what was more similar to this movie, campusment, which was school all weekend, which was hell on earth. And it was in a place called Study Hall, and it was like far more rigorous than this, so we couldn't get into the shenanigans that Judd Nelson leads, but
hijinks.
But there were, every once in a while there was some, like some pencil throwing and some, barf bag hijinks, but nothing is. I mean, we saw full on raves in this film.
Yes, there's dancing,
rave ups, blow ups, glow ups.
There's smoke and reefer. They're doing a bunch of stuff at school that I think you would get caught doing.
Chat is lively already. Today, Josh from Tennessee says the entire cast today would be all women and Cardi B. To which Chad Ryden follows up with, it'd be some K-pop band, which sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah, I would watch that. I think they're probably right about the all-female thing, just because that is the thing they're doing now. Like they just announced today that they're doing a remake of Dead Ringers, but as a TV show, except it's women. But
is she going to be a urinologist?
I don't know what the hell she's going to... I mean, it seems weird since the entire thing is about how it's creepy that they're gynecologists and they're men. Like, that's most of the basis of the movie being crazy.
They should be prostate checkers.
Maybe so. Yeah, they'll just reverse it where they're using metal instruments on people's butts. While we're talking about that, no, this is a totally different subject. One of the things that we really crush our guests with is we force them to give the plot of the movie. Mr. Bates, would you tell us what happens in this feature film, The Breakfast Club?
Okay, well, I haven't seen it yet, but plan on watch. No. Okay, it's this is 1985. It's a Saturday. Well, it was shot in 1985. I guess it was 1984. It was supposed to be set in. It's a Saturday, and it's 5 students showing up for detention. Is that what they called it?
Right.
And they get there at 7 a.m. and the assistant principal tells them that you can't sleep, you can't get out of your seat, you can't talk, and you have to sit there. And he makes them write an essay about who they think they are. And at first, they all hate each other because they're all so different. But then in time, they start to realize that they're not so different after all. And then they smoke some weed, and that's when they really realize that they're not so different.
Yep.
And in the end, the princess prom queen hooks up with the school bully or whatever, and then the jock hooks up with the weirdo girl, and then the smart kid writes the essay for all of them and says, we're all a basket case and we're all whatever, a jock or whatever.
That's right.
Signed The Breakfast Club.
Signed The Breakfast Club.
The last scene is we're all just white people. It's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
It's okay. We're all just white. It's great. Life is so beautiful.
Don't worry about it.
Thank you for that wonderful retelling of the story. You did it concisely. We love it. While we're talking about things, would you, Brian, tell us about your beef lamb gyro of the picture? What is your favorite part of this movie, The Breakfast Club?
I just enjoyed it as someone who in school didn't feel like I fit in and was struggling to find my way. It made me realize that we're all insecure and that we all aren't so different after all. And I just really identified with it as a teenager. You're talking about a specific scene?
Anything you like, man. It could be an
whatever
actor, a scene,
to
a
you.
musical cue.
Ooh.
I thought it was very funny when Judd Nelson's character was in the gym playing basketball, and I think the principal kicks the basketball.
Yeah.
Right? And he almost hits him, and he jumps in the air and it almost hits him.
I do like how in this movie all the emotions are so heightened and end of the world and teenaged, everything is so desperate and every up and down is so visceral and high and low, and you see pretty much every character cry, and that's like that brings to light like that is what being a teenager feels like. It really does. Like it really does feel like the smallest of things can make you borderline suicidal, and then moments later you are so happy to be playing Super Mario Brothers 2.
But didn't like Ali Sheedy's character? She basically had to change into Molly Ringwald before she got accepted.
Oh yeah, there's some issues.
Absolutely. It's it's pretty weird. It's pretty weird. Also,
okay, as you are, but if you want to be accepted, change.
Everyone basically runs off to get laid except for the nerd who still had to write the goddamn paper.
Yes, he did. And also, there's like Judd. What is his character's name? John Bender.
John Bender, yeah.
John Bender. He is, and Molly Ringwald wrote about this like last year as the Me Too stuff was coming out. Like, in one scene, he is under the desk between the legs of young Molly Ringwald.
Huffing her snatch.
Yes. Yeah, yes, exactly. And I was looking this up because
I don't know what huffing her snatch means.
It's kind of like huffing gas.
It's not good.
Oh, okay.
But he,
Right, go ahead, Sean. Go ahead.
Oh, and it's easily problematic. Mostly because when the movie was made, Judd was like 25 and she was 16.
Hey.
But I was horrified to learn that. I was hoping that I would look it up and everybody would be over 18. And then when I found out she was 16, I was like, oh no, John, come on, John, you have to know. But luckily, I also learned from the article, the underwear was they had an underwear stand-in, so at least there's that to comfort us that there was an underwear stand-in. At least they thought ahead to that. John, would you tell me your B Flame hero of this picture, please?
I guess my favorite thing about this movie was how the characters were allowed to do horrendous things, and maybe these things are, and certainly these things are more doubly horrendous now, because yes, Bender basically serially sexually harasses everyone in the cast. But
yes,
the characters are allowed to do like pretty terrible, offensive things to each other, but it doesn't stop them from being like fully embodied human-seeming characters. Like the principal does some pretty horrendous stuff where he intimidates a child.
Scary shit.
Yeah,
really scary.
But at the same time, I still felt like, yeah, that's what a principal does sometimes on their worst day. That's what, even the janitors, who's mostly this comic relief character, ends up having like these kind of like soulful moments. Like,
yes, he's profound.
Does like really terrible and good things. Whereas now I feel like I think if this film was made now, everyone's just an asshole or everyone's just a wholesome character. There's not like a lot of room for shades of gray, etc. I just like, but that I had other things I liked about the picture. From a filmmaking standpoint, I liked that John Hughes allowed himself to have like scenes that belonged in different genres of movies within this weird movie.
Yeah,
like when Bender's crawling through the ceiling and it's like a little spy flick for a moment in time.
Yes,
and there's a music video in the middle of it. It's more of like a filmmaker doing what he wants to do as opposed to like, I'm making this like teenage hijinks movie and I'm going to stay in this sector the entire time. And he's done that a lot. Like my favorite scene in Ferris Bueller's Day Off is the museum scene, which is this bizarre oboe clarinet song.
Yes.
Jam up in the music video in the middle of it that totally works and is kind of like an eerie montage that doesn't feel like it belongs in the movie. But I mean, John Hughes, I guess he's a lot. I only remembered him making a few great films, but I thought this movie was really, I mean, for it to resonate with me this much, this many years later, while still being supremely dated, that's pretty good storytelling, I feel.
Yeah, it's very good. I mean, I don't know if he's my most favorite, but I thought, especially Emilio Estevez, did some really fucking good work in this. I mean, I think almost everyone is pretty good. Judd Nelson is a little annoying to me, but basically everybody is pretty awesome in this. But like when Emilio goes in for the big monologue, I was like, wow, I didn't expect for Emilio to be the one who really got to me, but I was like, oh shit, Emilio's really kicking it into high gear in this monologue.
Is this when they're all sitting on the floor?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is this before or after Repo Man?
Oh,
well, I think it's before.
It is?
okay.
Because
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
in Repo Man, I was kind of like, shouldn't Emilio be Bender?
Oh, yes.
But Emilio's
Well, he was. I read on Wikipedia, Emilio wanted to play John Bender, and then they couldn't find anyone to play his part, so he switched characters.
He's good.
In pre-production. Then they wanted John Cusack to play Bender, but they didn't feel like he was mean enough.
Yeah, that's
so
a
then
bad
they
idea.
cast Judd Nelson.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Judd Nelson is very vicious in this movie.
Yeah,
Like,
he's perfect. I mean, he's at times genuinely dislikable. Like there's plenty of times when you're like, well, I hate this guy.
Yeah.
I really hate this guy because he's mean to everyone and like cruelly so. You're just like, do a good job of lay off.
Yeah, I think they do a good job of showing everyone's feet of clay, and everyone has this like irredeemable aspect to them, which that's life. Everyone has irredeemable qualities to themselves, and that's like what. Yeah, that's what makes it work.
Okay, the second thing we're going to do after beef lamb euro, we're going to say, what are our irredeemable qualities? What's the worst thing? No. I want to tell about my favorite thing in this movie.
I said snatch huffing earlier. That's it.
That's true. That's probably the worst thing. I have many favorite things that I will talk about probably later, but the most favorite thing, there's a part, and I think this is in the midst of the little powwow they're having, sitting on the floor. They're all talking. They're really getting down to brass tacks, really telling people about who they are. And Ali Sheedy says about Emilio Estevez, he can't think for himself. And Emilio says, she's right. That's one of my favorite lines of the whole movie. Just there's lots of like really good two-liners in this movie like that. I wrote down one more. Okay, the other one. This is another of my favorite two-liners. No, this isn't even a two-liner. This is like a 1.5-liner. When Anthony Michael Hall is about to get out of the car, his mom says, "Mister, you better figure out a way to study." And then his little sister goes, "Yeah." It's great. I just love, there's like so many good little bits. And I guess I thought of this as a comedy movie, but I didn't think of it as like a zippy comedy. But like there's some stuff in there that's like super duper zippy. And I was like, wow, there's just like super solid, tight little jokes in there. And I was like, well, I thought this was just gonna be like a fun kind of, we're learning about people, and it sort of is that, but there's plenty of just jokes, just straight up, hey, I wrote a joke and it's hilarious.
I would not call it a comedy except for in the vein of like, this movie reminded me of like the good Wes Anderson movies, like Rushmore and Royal Tenenbaums, where there's all these like little snippets of dialogue. There's even like a scene similar to what you're talking about, Sean, right when Bill Murray's character is with his twin sons, and they say something to him about him being like, "Why don't you pull your head out of your ass, Dad?" And he like reaches back to get him, and it's like this like quick moment that feels like real life.
Yes,
this movie has tons of those, and they are jokes and they are funny, but I wouldn't call this a comedy in any way. Like, this is like more, I guess this is a genre that no longer exists. It's like a coming of age teen comedy, what have you, because it's very, just fraught with this angst and all that stuff. But it totally works because it's able to have so many different like archetypal characters that each person can relate to. Like, and not everyone was like the nerd or the jock or the rebel or whatever. I didn't fit into any of these categories, but I could see like aspects of myself and people I knew. And it's like, oh yeah, I remember when me not getting along with my parents really did feel like the end of the fucking world.
Oh yes.
And it was cool to watch a film that like put that into perspective and proper perspective, I think too, because it is kind of ridiculous.
Well, which character do you guys think you would most identify with? If you had to pick.
I was talking to John before the show, and I would say Anthony Michael Hall just because I was and am super nerdy. But as I said, there's like no dumb nerd. Like there's like no representation for a person who's like not good at science or math, but also is a nerd.
So you would have been Anthony Michael Hall, but you would not have written the essay at the end.
I could have written the essay just because I'm pretty good at English, but I couldn't have gone to physics club or Latin club, I don't think. I'm too dumb for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there has never been representation for that kind of nerd
Right.
in any of
Good point.
culture. Like all nerds are like super powerful physics power. Like they can create flames out of stuff. Like they are all MacGyver somehow.
Right.
And I'm not that kind of nerd. Sadly, I wish I was. Who are you, John?
I think I was like somewhere in between the three male characters, I guess.
Oh.
Really? I figured you'd be Molly Ringwald.
Okay, yeah, but Molly Ringwald is like, I almost said that. Like, it kind of felt that way. I did get along with lots of. I had friends amongst all the different groups, but I did like Brian said, and like Molly Ringwald's character feels, I still felt horribly out of place. I mean, I just don't. I think it's inescapable, you know. But I mean, that's for me. It was like one of my favorite books or comic books to read ever is Watchmen. Because at different points in my life, I have felt like different characters, or I have identified most with different characters in that book. Like when you're a teenager and you're like a sociopath, it's like, oh, I'm Rorschach, and then later in life, you're like, oh god, that is a fucking moral objectivist maniac. And in this one, like there have been different points in my life where I definitely thought I was different. It's almost like a Greek chorus. This cast of characters, because they're just different shades of the same white person prism.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, honestly, I've probably felt most like the principal. Just the endless frustration, and then almost doing really reprehensible things, but pulling back at the last second.
While we're talking about Paul Gleason, I think Paul Gleason is pretty fantastic in this. But like the scene where he locks Judd in the closet and like gets really sinister is like throughout he's kind of jokey and like a jerk, but kind of jokey. And he flips the switch and gets super sinister and is scary. Like I was like, oh no. Yeah, I legitimately was like, is he gonna kill Judd in this room and then leave him? Like it had a feeling like he had turned into a villain and Judd would not survive the movie. And that was cool and also very surprising because like for the most part, this is like people are mean, people are cruel, but like not like, oh, I'm frightened of this person, and he gets real scary.
Before we leave this topic, I do want to point out that Breamstash from chat says that Sean was Booger from Revenge of the Nerds, and chat agrees. And then I threw up on our stream here. I should just tell the world what the people decided, because I was on a part of a story for the Nashville scene, and I was immediately cast as the Anthony Michael Hall character, only about 17 pant sizes larger. So I guess there's your answer, Brian.
Oh, okay. Well, there you
I'm
go.
not Booger. I'm not. Why? I'm not gross.
I feel like he's a dumb nerd, and I feel like
that's true.
They might be inferring from your unmade bed that you're disgusting. So who knows? Who knows?
I read on the internet that I'm not supposed to make my bed because not making the bed lets the bed cool and dry during the day. Fewer bacteria. Brian, which nerd were you? Were you a nerd? Were you Ali Sheedy? I don't picture you being Ali Sheedy, but
no, I think I thought I already mentioned I was kind of Anthony Michael Hall.
Oh yes.
I also kind of identify with the janitor who.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know.
Absolutely.
Wasn't there a scene with the janitor and the principal that was kind of powerful? Like,
yes.
Come on, man, you were this way one time.
Right.
I feel like the principal, he just never imagined this was going to be his life, and he really hates life.
Yes.
And he's just got lots of issues, and he's taking it out on the kids.
I make $31,000 a year, and I have a home.
Yes. I've got a wife. Well, yeah, there's that part where they're talking, and I mean, this is one of the most obvious tropes in the trope of tropes, but like certainly Richard Vernon, the principal, sees himself in Judd Nelson. Like he is a bully. He clearly is like also a jerk. Like when you see him, the real him turn on in that little room, you're like,
they're about the same age.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they're about the same age. Paul Gleason was in Die Hard though, and Judd Nelson was not in Die Hard. So Paul Gleason has that on him. Brian.
Yes.
Will you tell us your low man of the
wait a minute. I want to interrupt you. Sorry, Sean. Before we leave Principal Gleason.
Okay.
Is this even the best? Clearly, John Hughes knows how to write principals, but is this even the best principal in a John Hughes movie? Does this
Oh, you saying Bueller?
Does this compare to famed pederast Jeffrey Jones?
No. Jeffrey Jones. Well, also Jeffrey Jones has a lot more stuff to do in Ferris Bueller.
Right.
Like he gets to get attacked by a dog. He gets to ring a doorbell. Yes. No, I don't think this is as good as Jeffrey Jones in Ferris Bueller.
Go ahead, Brian.
Well, I was going to say, I read he shot these movies back to back to the point where they were already doing pre-production on Ferris Bueller and they shot some scenes in the school of Ferris Bueller. It's the same school that they shot Breakfast Club. The outside's different. It's two different high schools, exterior, but the inside stuff was the same. Not the library, but some of the classroom stuff.
What an amazing looking school.
Yeah.
I mean, think about how low budget a movie this was.
Yeah.
All shot at one place in a school. They built a library because they didn't have a library big enough. That was built on but everything else was just used at the school. I think it was a budget of $1 million.
Oh, dang.
God, I mean, you would think even the music budget would have gone over that, but maybe this Simple Minds song wasn't a thing until this movie came out. Probably so.
Yeah, I don't know. I did want to ask, I don't know which of you would know this, but this takes place in California, right?
No, I thought it was Chicago.
Yeah, I think they all
it's in Chicago. They're all in Chicago. That's true. Why is there a Confederate flag in the library?
I mean,
it doesn't make sense in California, but it also doesn't make sense in Chicago. So what is it? Just like, hey, this is a historical flag. So
it's not about slavery, Sean. It's
okay.
It's about embracing our heritage.
Heritage not hate, Sean.
I didn't know that. That's amazing. While we're talking about bad things, we might as well talk about our low man of the picture. I'm going first because I got a good one. And this is just coming from a nerd. This is from a nerd's perspective. So, Anthony Michael Hall smokes weed, which is fine. It's fine if he wants to do that. But Anthony Michael Hall talks about how he was suicidal about an F, but he never has any regret or feelings of nervousness about the fact that he smoked weed. I feel like that nerd who will get suicidal about an F in shop class would go, oh, I shouldn't have done this. Oh, I shouldn't have done this. I'm going to get in so much trouble. But he never says that. My nerd would go, Sean's no.
Projecting.
Someone's going to find out. Someone's going to find out and I'm going to go to jail forever.
I was more worried that he breaks out into his weird Anthony Michael Hall blackface impersonation.
Oh, he does do that.
That he does in every movie.
Hey, man, this is a funny voice in this time, but maybe in 30 years it's going to be uncomfortable.
This is worse than the Asian character from, is that Pretty in Pink or is that
I think so, yeah.
Hung Dong or whatever his name is?
Yes. Yes. Well, you know, who knew? Who knew that racism was bad? We didn't know back then. We only learned in the last 3 years that racism is bad.
Yeah, it was pretty funny that the jock was the last one to get after the Grim Reaper, as it were.
And it's so strange. Now I have limited experience with weed, none actually, but I've met many people. Everyone I've ever met has smoked it though. So I do have this question. Did Emilio smoke an entirely different strain of weed? Because everybody else was like chilling out, having a nice time on a couch, and Emilio gets freaked out.
White man
He's
on
like
PCP.
Running.
White man on PCP.
He's like shaking and punching. I think he got laced, right? Was he laced?
That was basically Emilio's version of his father's first scene in Apocalypse Now.
Yes. He was like, this is it. I'm going to get my Oscar, just like Dad. I don't think Dad got an Oscar, though. Did Dad get an Oscar?
He didn't get an Oscar.
That's too bad. He's good in that movie.
He is.
Brian?
Yes.
Will you tell me your low man of this picture? What's the worst dang part of this whole movie that you treasure so much?
Probably the whole scene where they smoke weed. You kind of just... When they break character, the whole Emilio Estevez thing, when he doesn't he yell and glass breaks?
Yes.
Yes.
Like screams or something.
Yeah.
It just, that part seems a little silly to me, a little over the top when they're all dancing together. And I read again because I did my research. Fan of the show.
God bless you.
At first, it was supposed to be just Molly Ringwald dancing, but then she felt insecure, so they all started dancing to make her feel better. And then John Hughes said, "Let's just keep it everybody in the scene."
Right.
But I didn't really like that. And then I'm going to give you two, I guess.
You give as many as you
and then
want.
there's a scene earlier when I guess the principal's trying to figure out who's making a noise, and Ali Sheedy's character like doing some sound effects or something with her voice, like some. It's been a little while since I've seen this movie, to be honest. But this is she like.
That's the type of non-hustle I can respect. You get asked to be on a film podcast show, and you're like, "What movie have I basically memorized?"
I've seen it so many times. Yeah. But do you know what I'm talking about? Like, isn't there a scene where
she's like,
yeah,
yeah, it's that scene's a little silly to me.
We call that Ed Nortoning in the biz. A little bit of Ed Norton.
Oh, what does that mean?
Ed Norton recently decided to give most of his characters tics or actual Tourette's syndrome.
Yes.
So that's just when you've run out of acting tricks and you just start barking like a dog. I did think, and we'll get to my low man. I did think of our performers, Ali Sheedy was the least spectacular. I think everyone, because they're mostly goddamn children, kind of has highs and lows because it's very young actors, but it still works for me. But Ali Sheedy, even she just kind of like in a group where everybody's vamping it up pretty hard. She's kind of relying on tics and talks more than anybody else. She was probably my least favorite, but like I said, I really enjoyed. I had such low expectations going in that this movie took me to a good place. I thought like it made me nostalgic because I don't feel like movies like this are made very often anymore. At least not in a way where they can reach such a massive audience. Because this movie, means a lot to a lot of people, and it just okay. Here's something that is absurd. I didn't hate it, but it's kind of fun to look at. Just at the end, everyone making out on their parents' cars.
Yes.
What is that? That would have been, maybe that's just from growing up in the South. That would have been mass hysteria if Grim Reaper or whatever his name is getting his liquor license with Molly Crabapple on the hood of her father's BMW. That's not gonna happen.
You would expect him to be like, "Get in the car right now!
Yeah,
Get in the car, Molly." Oh, Claire.
Do you think? I always feel like Ali Sheedy's character and Judd Nelson's character should have gotten along a little better. Yeah, I feel like they were the two true outsiders.
Right.
Yes.
Because Emilio Estevez and Molly Ringwald, they kind of ran in the same circles a little bit. But I feel like Judd Nelson, even really didn't. Like in my high school, I saw all those characters some, but I feel like Ali Sheedy's character and Judd Nelson's character in my school would have probably ran in similar circles.
Sure.
Yes. Well, Ali claims that she has no friends, so maybe she's just such a weirdo that she doesn't even hang out with Judd.
Scratch her dandruff into her sugar sandwiches.
Yes.
I mean, that is reprehensible behavior and truly grotesque.
Yes, she chews her fingernails. She does all the gross things.
Oh, I just remember. Can I change my favorite scene?
Sure.
Yes, of course.
I think it's very funny when they're talking about why they're all there, and then she just finally admits she didn't do. She just didn't have anything else to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty funny, right?
That's funny and sad.
Yeah.
That's the poignant stuff John Hughes brings to the table. There are a couple things I think are completely insane about this movie. I didn't think they were bad, but they're at least worth bringing up. Anthony Michael Hall school shooter subplot.
Yes.
Yeah.
That hits a little different after Columbine, don't it?
Or suicide shooter subplot, right?
I don't know. I honestly,
it's kind of hard to tell.
because of where we are as a society, my brain gets so weird around guns in school that I had a hard time interpreting what that meant in 1985.
I think he was going to kill himself, but
okay.
They also say it's a flare gun, right? Isn't that the punchline, the eventual punchline, that it's a flare gun?
Right.
But even if it's a flare, yes, if you have a flare gun and you shoot it into your temple, you're probably still going to die, I would guess.
Yeah, I'm thinking so.
So he tries to kill himself, and they treat it by sending him to in-school suspension.
Yeah, that's really not great.
I need help. No, you're going to Saturday school.
You're going to ISS.
Don't say a word.
Chad, help us solve this. Was Anthony Michael Hall going to shoot this school up with this flare gun, or was he just simply taking his own nerdy life? We'll check back.
He'll let us know.
Minutes. Furthermore,
also,
it's not a very prescient film because, as we all know, the billionaire nerd has won, and not only gets the girl, but gets the surfboard and the social media company. So
yes,
I don't know if Bender's walking off into the sunset raising his fist, but that's I thought it was kind of interesting that the only person who still remains a loser and doesn't get the girl is the Anthony Michael Hall character.
Yes. I think also there's something strange. Maybe this is just the braces of the day, but his braces are scary. His braces cover up all of his teeth, so it is just dark. So when he smiles, there is no whiteness. It is just like braces and greenness. It really made me uncomfortable to look at him smile, which is not great. I wish that he had, I don't know. I guess those were probably his regular braces, but maybe they have improved the technology, but it freaked me out and I did not like it.
I think
with all due respect.
The braces of the time. I think I had some similar. And doesn't he kisses the paper at the end, right? So that's kind of like, that's his like hooking up moment.
Yeah. Gets a paper cut.
Is Anthony Michael Hall the best actor out of this group who somehow disappears somehow even more completely than Judd Nelson later in his career? Or does he just have the best role?
He has, I think he's the funniest in my opinion.
Sure.
He does some really good funny stuff.
Right.
I think it's tough because his big acting part, like his part right after Emilio's big monologue, seems a little more silly to me. Like the fact that he is suicidal because of a shop class is hard for me to believe. So I kind of went,
oh man,
I don't know.
I believe his teenage emotions.
I guess that's true.
I mean, I think that was just the one example he gave, but I think it was just building up from years of other things.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I loved the through lines with the adults revealing their rather immature emotions later on as well, and like the kind of showing the through line that as much as we'd like to believe that we mature and move past this frailty, we're still just like raw nerves underneath. I thought that was pretty fun.
Absolutely.
Thinking of one thing I noticed, I'm not sure, I haven't read Wikipedia or anything. I'm pretty sure Anthony Michael Hall's dad at the end was John Hughes. So I think that
really,
I think that was him, and I think that shows you that character in particular must have resonated with him. He's not in the credits like that. Everybody, I rewound in the credits because I was like, that was John Hughes. But I rewound in the credits, and they just credit everyone but that character, which to me almost is like, oh yeah, definitely John Hughes then.
It must be him.
But I thought that was an interesting bit of business. Brian, you said you were actually in high school or about to be in high school when this movie came out. Do you feel like this movie helped you navigate high school, or was it like a blueprint of what not to do, or it had no effect at all?
No, I mean, I don't think it had a major effect, but I think
it didn't make you be like, I want to be a Bender or I want to be an Emilio.
No, I mean, I was still very insecure, and I was basically like I am now, except much younger, where I just want to fit in, and I want I wanted everyone to like me, so I use humor to try to make that happen. But I certainly had, again, my high school was pretty big, so we had all those characters in one way or another at my school.
Sure.
So I don't know. if anything, it helped. It didn't hurt,
Right?
but it helped. It's a good
That's
reminder.
It's
That and
refreshing to
maybe
see a
Deadpool.
movie that doesn't make high school seem great. Like, doesn't make high school
Yes.
seem either like the worst or the best. It like properly shows the scope of like the grandeur and the misery of it at the same time. I think is kind of neat
Yes,
about the movie.
you see all of the different things. I want to talk about a few things. These were not on my Euro or low main. These are just things I wrote down. One, it opens with the Simple Minds song, which is great, and there's a quote from David Bowie. I did not write it down because I didn't want to, but it's just about how the kids are special or something. And then that title screen with the quote explodes like broken glass towards the camera. Really strange.
Yeah.
So weird. I
Yeah.
mean, it feels like something that would be in a Die Hard parody. Like, not in Die Hard because they're too smart to do that, but like if somebody was doing like a Spy Hard movie, it feels like the glass would break at you. Okay, other things. Two different people give someone the middle finger in this movie, and they all do it strangely. Okay, they do the middle finger. If you're just listening, try to picture it. If you're watching us, I'll do it. They do the middle finger, but the other fingers are kind of up. They don't do a full squeeze with the other fingers. The other fingers are just kind of hanging around. It's very, and they do it the same
like
way.
An effortless middle finger, like an up yours.
Yeah, just like,
and then if you're getting like if you're being very forceful with the middle finger, you kind of curve some of your other fingers.
Oh,
You kind of get like witch claw on it. I think it's just how much you're putting into that gesture.
You may be right. These were.
I'm sorry, Sean.
No, I want you to go, Brian, please.
Well, I'm sorry to jump in. I looked up. John Hughes did play Anthony Michael Hall's father.
Nice.
And his real mom played his mother.
Oh, wow. That's wonderful.
His real sister played his sister.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Get that family dynamic.
I feel sorry for his dad now. John Hughes like, nope, sorry, I'm doing that.
That's me. Okay.
I'm your dad now.
That's why he committed suicide or tried.
Yes. John Hughes was his dad.
Yeah.
He had to live up to that.
From the chat, Tex Offender wants our thoughts on that final freeze frame where Bender raises his hand into the air. What did you guys? Did that work for you? Did that work for you, Brian?
It did at the time because I thought it was cool and
yep.
And like I could see myself walking across my high school football field after I just kissed a girl, which I never did, but yeah, I thought it was kind of cool at the time. Now it seems kind of cheesy, but growing up, I liked it.
Hey, Brian, you may not have kissed the girl, but I bet you also didn't threaten to impregnate her in a gang rape scenario, nor stick your face into her panty region. So I think you still.
Well, actually, I did, John. So I wish you hadn't brought that up.
Uncomfortable.
I had to move. Yeah.
Well, I think the statute of limitations has saved you there, or at least I hope so in all our cases. Sean, did that work for you?
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, it's silly, but also I think there are enough ridiculous things that happen in this movie that I was prepared for. Like Brian mentioned, the Emilio yells so loud that the glass breaks.
Right.
Like once you see something like that, you're like, well, anything can happen in this movie. Yeah. It's mostly realism, but also there are touches of magical realism or some other weirdness.
I feel like he always has like that South American magical realism creep in every once in a while.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah, I kind of like it too. I like it that it's always just a little kiss of the hops. I think that the raised fist and the freeze frame, I think freeze frame has been proven out to be, that's just a technique that works. I think it's back in filmmaking. It just works.
It's really good.
I mean,
yes.
Michael.
I was rewatching. I was rewatching Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
A classic of cinema, and in the Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head, they do like right at the end of Raindrops, he does this freeze frame and smile thing.
Yeah.
And it kills me. And I think like a really good freeze frame is perfect.
I
think the only. Oh, go ahead.
Nothing. Never.
Oh, I think the only thing that kind of we talked about this. Did we already talk about this? I have no idea. The only thing that maybe takes away from the freeze frame is the sign to the Breakfast Club. Like when he says the title at the end of the movie is weird.
Is that the first time we hear that?
Yes, it is.
And what does that really even mean?
They don't eat breakfast. Do they? Did they ever eat breakfast? I don't know
before they got
means.
there.
Anytime you get eponymous in the last frame of your picture, it's sort of a failure. It reminds me of, do you remember Annihilation?
Oh,
One of our very first podcasts, they bust out the title of the movie in a long speech right at the end, but it doesn't really work.
Rough.
But I feel like it's a forgivable sin. What else were you going to call this picture? I mean...
Yeah.
I don't know.
The detention...
Campusment.
Yes, campusment. Okay, a few other things I need to talk about. Okay, one. This is another one of those things, like the Emilio breaking glass, that has no place in reality. But when Judd is like running through the halls and he's somehow gotten to the gym, he's in there playing basketball in the gym, and for some reason he has a single basketball shoe on in this scene. I don't know where he got this basketball shoe, but he just is wearing a single white basketball shoe, and he's playing. Other than that, he's not wearing any athletic wear.
That's right.
But as he's leaving the room, he just kicks off the basketball shoe and is out of our lives. It's never mentioned once. No one even points at it. You just have to look at it to see it, and it's like, I just like that. I like that. At some point, they're like, why wouldn't he just have a single athletic shoe? Why wouldn't he take off his one? Yeah, sure.
Judd Nelson using the Stravinsky method there. Method acting, baby.
Okay, what else?
Judd Nelson kind of it kind of grows on me. Like at first, and I think it's kind of interesting that you brought up, Sean. There are moments where he's really unpleasant, but it totally works. Like it's kind of better that he sucks sometimes rather than just being charming the it'd be hard to buy, John Cusack as, Lloyd Dobler being, menacing and so like squeamishly awful and just a brazen liar and an asshole. Like he probably would have brought too much charm to the role. So this definitely worked for me as a performance. Like I said,
absolutely.
I was a little hard on Ali Sheedy, but that's fine. I mean, who is it from Fast Times at Ridgemont High? She was in a Tarantino movie recently. Single white female lady. What was her name? Not Ali Sheedy.
What the hell?
Oh, Bridget Fonda.
Yes.
No. Bridget Fonda wasn't Jackie Brown, but it's the other one. God damn it. Well, I can't remember. But she would. I think most people would have done the Ali Sheedy performance and just made her as quirky as possible. So it's hard. It's hard not to fall in. I mean, after all, these are stereotypes, so why not play it to the hilt? But Jennifer Jason Lewis, thank you, Tex Offender in chat. Jennifer Jason
Lee?
Yeah, Jennifer Jason Lee. That's it. Yeah, man, all over the place today. But
I could totally see her playing that character.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
She does play that character in half her movies.
Yeah.
Yes.
I do think that Bates is right that is the worst part of the movie, that she has to like get dressed up to get the jock. Like that's kind of antithetical.
I feel like it goes against everything that they've been trying to tell you through the whole movie.
Absolutely.
You're okay as you are. Wait a second.
Yeah.
Why don't you get dressed up so you can get the guy?
It's very
why don't you dress like a girl?
Yeah.
Here's a bow, a literal bow in your hair.
It's very like miserable Judd Apatow Middle America bullshit, where it's like, yeah, you do need to get a job, you fucking loser.
Yes.
That's that's the thesis of every Apatow film is you do need to get a regular job, loser.
I felt the same way rewatching Ferris Bueller.
Mm-hmm.
As a kid, Ferris Bueller was one of my very favorite movies.
Right.
But like watching it as an adult is weird because it's like, oh, did you know that if you're a rich white kid, you can do literally anything? Isn't that great?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I don't know if it is great. Is that great? I mean,
that's how you take that?
Yes.
I took it as if you're just really smart white kid, or not. You don't have to be white. Just a smart kid. You can outsmart the dumb adults.
Because Sean,
I can see
you
that.
have the even whiter, even richer kid Cameron, who's suicidal.
Yeah.
You're right. Okay, I take it back. Okay, one last thing that I need to talk about before we talk about anything else. This is another one of the quick 2-line jokes that I loved. Okay. Emilio, wait, I think it's when after they've gotten high and they're all friends, Emilio and Ali Sheedy and Anthony Michael Hall are sitting around looking through each other's stuff, which
Yep.
I would never let I mean, I guess I would have to get really high and maybe I would let people look through my stuff. But otherwise, I would never let anyone look through my stuff. But they're looking through Anthony Michael Hall's wallet. And Emilio says, "What do you need a fake ID for?" And he says, "So I can vote." Just a really amazing joke.
That's great.
Perfect.
Making that good trouble.
Yes. It's like a perfect, like it's perfect in so many ways, but it's perfect as like a character moment. Because you go, yeah, I bet he does want to vote. He wants to vote early. He seems like he would want to. He's 16, but he can't vote yet, so he got a fake ID just so he can go to the polls and support Ronald Reagan or something. I don't know who he would support.
That is a quality gag.
Well, 84 was an election year, so that even made more sense.
Oh yeah,
Dukakis, baby, all the way.
Yeah,
everybody loves Dukakis. He's one of the greats.
We have some thoughts from the chat that I'd like to point out. Tex Offender comes in with, when did John Hughes lose the ability to write? And he brings up some movies that I did not know John Hughes wrote, and I am embarrassed to know that John Hughes wrote Drill Bit Taylor, Made in Manhattan, and Baby's Day Out.
Oh.
Because he had a string there where, I mean, I don't have the IMDb in front of me, but I mean, we're talking Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. We're talking Ferris Bueller's. We're talking this movie. We're talking Pretty in Pink is pretty legendary in a lot of circles. 16 Candles. Was that the 5? Was that like, did he have like 5 innings of perfect baseball and then it just kind of fell apart with, I'm going to say, Drill Bit Taylor?
Well, but besides Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, I was going to say he's just really good at high school drama.
Right.
But beyond that, maybe he struggled. But Planes, Trains, and Automobiles was one of my favorites.
Oh, it's amazing.
That's the zenith, but I think a lot of it has to do with the performances in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Like, I don't know if that movie's even as good as this movie without John Candy and Steve Martin being so pitch perfect in it. And then like
Candy's unbelievable.
To me, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, the reason that is like, I think, and this may sound ridiculous, I think Alan Ruck as Cameron in Ferris Bueller's Day Off is one of the great film performances. Like,
he's great.
That is just an incredible performance, and I haven't seen anything like that from him or anybody since. It just makes the whole movie. And I don't know if this movie has that kind of performance in it. It has like a pretty strong ensemble, but there's no like iconic performance to me.
I can see that.
Which one of?
Go ahead, Brian.
Oh, sorry. Which one of these characters went on to have the best career? Well, not characters, but actors.
I guess Emilio Estevez
has to be Emilio, but none of them.
But everyone kind of bears the mark of the beast here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These are some films that came after Planes, Trains, and Automobiles that are quite good. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation is pretty great.
That's John Hughes?
Apparently.
Wow.
That's what it says. It says written by. And Home Alone. Home Alone is
I knew
solid.
he wrote Home Alone, but I was talking about the movies he directs, but yeah, I see what
you mean.
Okay. He's kind of, I need to get back to this.
He only directed 8 movies, so I guess Drill Bit Taylor was a writing credit, not
writing only. His Chicagoland octology.
Drill Bit Taylor is a story credit, so that's not entirely his fault.
So, did Emilio peak with Young Guns 2? Is that the last?
I think he did.
I mean, I would have to look it up, but probably. I can't think of anything he's in.
Judd Nelson shows up in New Jack City. That's pretty badass.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and then he did, St. Elmo's Fire not long after that, and he and Ali Sheedy were a couple.
I think St. Elmo's Fire is what I would sometimes confuse this film with, and I think it has to do with the prominence of the theme songs.
Oh, yes.
Because I thought this was just going to be
Brat Pack.
Not what it once was. I recently learned that Larry Fishburne was friends with all the Brat Pack guys, and I can't figure that out in my mind.
Oh, yes. Yes, there's that. If you haven't read it, there's a great Vulture interview with Lawrence Fishburne, and it is really weird to hear him talking about knowing Emilio Estevez, because I cannot picture them being in the same... How could they be in the same room to get, like, I can't even picture them knowing each other, just because with all due respect to Emilio, Lawrence seems like he is in such another world than Emilio.
One of the greatest actors who ever lived.
Yes, amazing. And like Emilio's good. Okay, one thing that is good after Young Guns 2, Mission Impossible. But that's the last thing. He's only in it for like 30 seconds. But
yeah, I was about to say, he was in the first Mission Impossible, but even then, it was almost like, oh yeah, there's Emilio Estevez. I hadn't seen him in anything in a long time.
I didn't know he was in Mission Impossible.
Yeah, he gets
early.
He gets stabbed with he's like the computer guy at the very beginning who gets stabbed with the elevator. Somehow there's elevator spikes.
Are you sure
and
that
they go
wasn't
through his
Ramon
head?
Estevez? You sure that wasn't Martin Sheen?
Well, he's uncredited according to this, which I don't know why he would be uncredited when he's clearly Emilio Estevez.
Hollywood's
right?
weird, man. Did you know? I've read a bunch of Stanley Kubrick books because I'm a buffoon, and Stanley Kubrick really wanted to get Anthony Michael Hall to play multiple characters, like including Matthew Modine's character in Full Metal Jacket. Yeah, so like that trajectory could have been totally different. He ends up on like the goddamn Dead Zone TV show, but that could have been way different. Last thing I saw Anthony Michael Hall in was playing like a news reporter in Batman: The Dark Knight.
Oh no, poor Anthony Michael Hall.
Yeah,
he looks so weird now. I mean, I guess every child actor ends up looking weird as hell, but
it's relative because you're not ready for them to change that much.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I guess if you saw me as a child and you saw me now, you'd be like, oh man, that's too bad. But I guess that's what happens with every child. If you see an adult and then you see a child, you're like, oh man, he got so old and weird and his head's so much bigger than it used to be and he's got no hair. He's disgusting. That's the way I feel about myself. I don't know if you guys think that you were disgusting too.
Absolutely. That's why I deleted those younger pictures of me that were on the Twitch stream for a minute there. It became too much to bear. Well, Brian, we've about run out of time, but before we go, we'd like for you to let the people know where they can find you online. I know you are doing a podcast now that I don't know anything about, but I'd like for you to tell them about.
That is a great endorsement. Thank you, John.
I've never even heard of it. I don't even know it exists.
I didn't even know it existed until Sean told me right before we started. Well, I am on a podcast. It's called Nateland, and as you might imagine, Nate Bargatze is on it.
Okay. The world's only Vanderbilt
and Aaron Weber
fan. And the world's hairiest Notre Dame fan. I love it.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
So me, Aaron, and Nate, and it comes out every Wednesday. So it came out today.
Oh.
And I'm on Twitter, Brian Bates Comic. I think Instagram, Brian Bates Comic. That's it.
And I'll go ahead and tell you, do not ever get in any sort of flame war or Twitter beef with Brian Bates Comic, because you will be eviscerated in the smallest number of syllables I have ever seen, to the point that I live in constant fear and almost never interact with Bates on Twitter. Sean, tell them where they can find us online.
You can find Food Court Movie Podcast on Twitter at Food Courtcast. You can find us at Food Court Movie Podcast on Instagram, and on Facebook. You just search for Food Court Movie Podcast. While you might be listening to us on iTunes or a similar service right now, and since you're there, would you get on your phone or your computer and type up a nice review for us and give us 5 stars? Because we love that. I mean, we like 4 stars, but we love 5 stars, and we hate 3 stars. Anything below 4, it makes us rageful. We get real pissed off. And those are all the places.
And we want to send a special thank you to all our hashtag kill donkeys in the Twitch chat right now at twitch.tv/Flash Food Court Movie Podcast. But it's been great having you on, Brian. I hope you'll come back on sometime. For Sean and Brian, we'd like to say bon appetit, kill donkeys.
Bye.